Oh, hello. I almost didn't see you come in, but it's almost time for a good story, isn't it? It's nearly sunset. I'll light a candle for us. So, this story's a very interesting one. It's about getting locked in a perfectly square room with a very strange companion. I won't spoil the rest of it, but for now, enjoy a story I'd like to call Counting Tiles. I am locked in a room with a clown. The room is, or was, white tile. Tile on the floor and the wall, everything except the ceiling. The tiles have become brown and coated with a rust-like residue with age. I understand now that they were laid out for me or for those who have come before me. And I understand now it's a board game. The tiles are about a foot in width and height. When I first woke up here, the room smelled small, like a forgotten wet towel. The only thing that didn't carry a depressive feeling was the clown. He was what I first believed to be sleeping. But he may have just been waiting. Against the grays, whites, and browns, his big, fluffy red hair and green and yellow costume contrasted brightly. Even under the buzzing light, he looked cheerful. I'm chained to the floor. Both of my ankles are locked with only the chains holding the cuff, having about an inch in length. I cannot move from this one spot. My back is against a metallic door with no knobs or any way to push it on my side. I don't look at it as much anymore. It hurts to crane my neck and to be reminded of what I know now to be, or maybe not to be. Questions. The chain on the clown was different, only having one cuff and the length giving him reign over the entire room. Initially, I believed this to be a terrible joke. Then what felt like hours passed. I struggled with my lock and the panic started to set in. The clown was still asleep then, or waiting. Then I realized I never saw the signs of breathing. No rise and fall of the shoulders, no inhale, no exhale. I did not want to be locked in a room with a dead body. Already my mind started to imagine the smell that would follow in a few days. What happens to a body after death in a humid room like this? I yelled for the clown. I needed him to wake up. I needed the company. I needed another living person. If he was alive, maybe we can help each other out of this. He moved slowly, pulling his knees in and rising on top of them. His back was still to me. I was still talking. I did not know the rules. When he turned to face me, he had closed his mouth, or maybe it was always closed, and it was a smile. Wide open eyes. His face was your average birthday clown. White face, diamond eyes, red lips, with the detail of blue. He had a bright red nose and shining blue eyes. Like his costume, his makeup seemed new, like it was freshly applied. I remember saying, "Thank God you're okay," and then bombarding him with questions. He started walking, the heels centering on one tile, directly on the path of tiles I was sitting on. After 4 steps, my constant questions started to grow quiet. His closed-mouth smile remained the same. He didn't even blink. My perception of time was heavily altered, with only the echo of daylight being 2 buzzing lights, never turning off. Again, I thought this was an obscure prank played on me. I could see its title being clickbait. Man spends a day locked in a room with a clown. See what happens next. I started laughing, and the words, "Okay, you got me," almost escaped my mouth, but then he took another step forward, across the room, his Crayola contrast against what would be a now emptied surgical room. He stood before me. For days it continued like this. I sat there, he stood. If I made a noise, vocalized from a cough to a sneeze, he'd step forward so long as it was within his earshot. I learned this part easily. I could clap and snap, but if I were to vocalize loud enough, he would move. I was able to count how many tiles he was away from me. 110. Sleeping was difficult at first. I could not maneuver into a different position. I had to face him. He, unblinking, bright red hair and shiny nose facing me. I'd go to sleep and I would wake back up to the bright red hair and shiny nose and closed-mouthed smile. When the hunger pangs started to set in, that's when I dared to make another loud noise. I yelled for my unperceived captors to give me something or just kill me. I begged to know why this was happening. To my shock, a slit at the bottom of the door behind me opened with a tray of unknown substance. I ate it with fervor, unquestioning, and then I looked up to see the clown. He was just past the center of the room, 108. What I perceived to be 3 or 4 days past, sleep had almost become easier, but nightmares of hearing his chain drag forward, the silks of his costume shuffling, it would snap me awake. I would quickly recount the tiles all over again. 108, 108, 108, 109, no, 108, and I tried to lull myself back to sleep, but the nightmare kept returning. I could not sleep. I had to count the tiles. I had to count and recount the distance. I had to make sure he wasn't cheating. Food had become a part of the daily pattern now, which I was thankful for, because I had something to tell time. But it made me wonder, would my unseen abductors would have fed me even before I screamed? Did I waste tiles? Or were they forcing me to lose this game? We're now at 104 tiles. 10 feeding times. I had to hear my own voice. It was painful holding in coughs. I still hadn't slept. This isn't right. Every time I recount the tiles, it is wrong. I'm seeing things and I'm so tired. I couldn't stand it anymore. I grabbed my foot and the metallic tray they served my meals and pressed the bottom of my foot, pushing it towards my leg. It looked like I was trying to imitate the foot of a ballet dancer, but I needed to go farther than that. I dug my teeth into my mouth and forced myself to muffle. The scraping noise of metal against the floor echoed throughout the room. I felt my foot burn and strain, muscle, ligaments, the tissue reacting like rubber bands being pulled taut, far beyond their elastic range, growing thinner and pop. With a sudden give, I fell over and screamed. I already knew he was closer. I had to be quiet, but I screamed. I pulled my now loose foot through the cuff and began to repeat the act on the other. The sulfuric feeling that burned only pushed me to move. On my knees, I crawled around the room, trying to best not put any pressure on my feet as possible, ignoring how loosely they swung until I tripped and my left foot hit a tile. An audible hiss escaped my mouth and I realized what I did. I stopped. He was still on tile 98, heading towards the direction I once sat. Facing and looking only there, the only thing that for a ghost of a moment I swore I saw the clown's smile twitch slightly. But he wasn't approaching me, so long as I wasn't over there. I was hopeful now. I searched for anything and everything in that room. Anything that would help me open the door. It was empty for all but me, the trays, the chains, and the clown. Hope had just returned and it was already fleeting. I clawed at the loose tiles, allowing the porcelain to cut at my hands. The pain became too unbearable the more hysterical I grew. I counted the tiles again. Maybe they were a clue. I crawled from the furthest corner from him and I allowed myself to hyperventilate. I was out of his earshot. I didn't know why the ensuring he didn't move forward was still an objective for me, but it was. If he's still heading towards that spot, I certainly wouldn't be harmed. But what would happen after he reached there? After some time, I dared to approach him. I was 2 tiles away, crawling and shifting. Nothing breaking the sterile silence except the lights that I've come to ignore, and me breathing through my teeth. His costume was of two different fabrics with two colors split down the middle. A splash of patchwork. The lemon yellow fabric on his left looked soft and cotton-like with shiny red polka dots sewn in. The right side was lime green with blue tartan patches. The seams of the patches, made of large silk thread, tightly looped in the lines along the costume. Giant red buttons of whimsical shapes and sizes down his chest. He was still smiling and looking forward. He looked like an animation or a movie, paused mid-movement. I could just imagine the clown at a 5-year-old's birthday party about to reveal a big surprise for a starry-eyed child. Not here. I shuffled to look closer at his profile, not even daring to step in front of him. His hair looked so soft and natural, and his makeup expertly applied. The only evidence of days passing since application seen on the edges of his neck, dry cracks forming. I braved to step closer, or inch. Didn't really have feet. Looking for the subtle rise and fall of his chest, looking for any mistakes in his makeup or any inclination to get out. He was the only thing in the room that I did not search until now, after all. Then an icy jolt shot through me. Anxiety began rising through me as if my name was shouted in a furious octave. I felt his eyes burrowing into me. I could imagine the clown's once jovial smile into a frown. I could see those wide blue eyes, and my spine coiled. I did not want to look up. I did not want to see what would happen next if I looked up. I held my breath. I could feel him looming over me. Then and there, he was going to kill me. I knew it. I looked up, and the clown was still looking forward, unblinking, smiling. The pain must have gotten to me, or I must have been that tired. I must have been. Could have sworn he shifted, but his feet were still dead center on the tile. Hands still at his side, closed mouth smile, looking forward. I let out a sigh of relief and nearly jumped away horrified when he stepped forward. Not fast, but slow, like a cog in a machine, his chain slowly rattling behind him in the stillness. Of course, the jump was enough to make me shuffle onto my ankles. Of course, it felt like gunfire. Of course I made a noise, and of course he moved forward. Frustrated, confused, tired, aching, I pulled myself into the farthest corner of the room and relented to the sleep. Blinking slowly at the bright red hair, I thought of what day it might be out there, and for once, I didn't dream of the clown. I woke up to the sounds of chains and a door closing. It felt familiar. My heart stopped as I saw his form, domineering and unchanged, standing in front of me. I was locked back into place, the cuffs now far tighter around my loose ankles. He was far closer. Something in his unchanging smile and stiff, straight posture told me I had cheated. I played the game wrong. I had broken the rules, and all I could do was count the tiles. 7 tiles. Food. 7 tiles. Don't sleep. You cheated. He'll cheat too. 7 tiles. 7 tiles. Food. 7 tiles. Slam your foot. Stay awake. Wasn't there 8 tiles? It was 7? It was 7. 7 tiles. I had forgotten my own name. 7 tiles. Food. 7 tiles. 7 tiles. I think it was Mark. 7 tiles. Or maybe I knew someone who was named Mark. Food. Slam the tray where you dislocated your ankle. Stay awake. 7 tiles. Was the clown always green? Food. They don't serve it on a tray anymore. 8 tiles. Was the room always slanted? Tiles. I fell asleep, and I spoke. I knew it, but my body forced me to remain asleep. I couldn't wake myself. When I finally regained consciousness, my feet ached, and he was standing over me. Tile 4. What is my name? I asked, my voice hoarse, an echo of what it once was. 3 tiles. Who are you? I asked, the chain sounds not pausing this time. 2 tiles. What will happen now? 1 tile. I swallowed, and the clown took another step. Gee, Wasn't that a very interesting story? Well, it's time to dim the lights and lock all doors, and remember where you fall asleep tonight. To all from the Locked Radio, good night. This story was written, read, and produced by Buster Richardson. You can find him on most social medias under the moniker Bunster Keaton. You can support us on patreon.com/BunsterKeaton. Thank you for spending the night with us.